Okay, it's time for the next step in our little configuration journey here. In the previous section, we just did a few steps to configure workspace, login URL, auto launch settings, and so forth. Next up is a step that's very short. It doesn't take very long at all. Its title is Connect Windows 365 to Citrix Cloud. Really, all it is Citrix Cloud logging into Entra ID and making a connection with applications, basically a service account, so it can mostly read various elements inside of Entra, as well as read and write some settings to Windows 365. It's actually pretty quick. But there's one thing that I wanted to cover about permissions before I jump in there. If I click on this link that talks about Connect Windows 365, it's going to take me over to the step-by-step. And as you can see, it's really, really short. We're going to be doing that here in a minute. But I said log in with global administrator account to Entra. And with that account, it says this app would like to, and it's going to run down the list in here. Most of this is read, so little risk with that, except one section right here. It says partner read and write cloud PCs, basically Windows 365, and then partner read and write cloud PC. And if I scroll down, this is just the permissions list. So most of it's read, but a little bit of read and write. Now, there are some considerations that you got to know about. And if you fail to meet these requirements, you can end up with a failed activity. The action will fail, and then you're going to come back and do a little bit of research. Here's some considerations. As I said, you've got to be a global administrator of your Entra tenant. Otherwise, the app registration will not complete successfully. There must be Windows 365 enterprise licenses in the tenant. Otherwise, the connection to the Windows 365 will fail. So that can happen because some people get a little ahead of themselves and say, well, we're going to buy the Windows 365 licenses, but we haven't yet. Don't do this until you get your licenses and you've added them into your tenant. Or it's going to fail. Okay, the Azure AD tenant, Entra, connected to Citrix Cloud differs from the tenant for Windows 365. So they got to be the same. And it says, and occasionally there can be a delay in propagation of the permissions inside of your tenant. I've never experienced that personally, but they say if that happens, just have a coffee break, come back and try it again, and you'll probably be fine in 15 minutes. All right. So pretty straightforward. Let's go back and do it now. This is all done back in our menu inside of Citrix Cloud. So I'm going to come back over here to Citrix Cloud. This is DAS, so we manage it. Takes us back to our management menu, and we're back to Quick Deploy. And this is Connect Windows 365 account. So we connect it. It's going to have you authenticate. And there's, again, the pop-up on the permissions. Hit accept. And that's all there is to it, right? So, okay, so that was pretty fast. When we return, we're going to be talking about assigning some Citrix license, basically who's going to be allowed to use Citrix Cloud as far as users are concerned. It's also pretty fast. See you shortly.